Again, I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. And here we go.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Trowina. And Dante, what are we talking about this week?
We got new movies. Can you believe it or not? It has been probably one of the worst times for us to start a podcast this year about film when our local theater shut down. And we finally have the release of 28 Years Later. We got together and watched it the other night, and it was something special. And I think something that we're dying to talk about, a new movie at this point, and also a good one.
Yeah, new to us. I mean, this movie's been out for a little while, but we were finally able to watch it last week because we don't have a movie theater open here right now, so we're just kind of relying on stuff to come out on streaming. My first initial thought watching this movie was, I wish I had gotten to see this in a movie theater. Like, this movie really feels like it was made for movie theater, and it was still a good experience watching the movie at my house. I think we both really enjoyed the movie anyways, but I couldn't help thinking, like, while we were watching this, like, this would be so much more immersive and intense and thrilling to see this in a movie theater.
Right, and I think what your thought on that, to echo that, is just like we never got to see 28 days later in the theater. We never got to see 28 weeks later in the theater. I mean, we were like what, 2 or 3 or like 7 years old at those times. And this one definitely embraces, you hear about all the filming with an iPhone and everything. You think it would be that cluttered visual still, and it's not. It's this grand, epic scope in this movie and really embraces the scenery around it. And I agree with you. Like the immersion was definitely there, just sitting on your couch, but the immersion in a theater has to be next level with this movie.
Yeah, I do want to talk more about specific scenes in this movie and what made it so intense. But overall, I think very, very well-made film, looks amazing, feels so visceral at times, and the iPhone filmmaking was exceptional. I mean, I know it's not point and shoot with your iPhone out of your pocket. We've seen the behind the scenes pictures of these giant rigs with 30 plus iPhones on them, and I mean, it's truly next level what they've done. And when I saw those clips or those images, I didn't really quite understand why they needed that sort of rig. And then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, I get it. Because there are multiple times in this movie where there will be kill scenes where their zombies are killed and an arrow goes through a head. And then it like does this cool thing where it like cuts like
It's
five to
like
five
bullet
different
time, yeah.
angles, like around the person in the shot. And it's just really cool. Like, it was something that I've never seen before. And there's a lot of really cool visuals in this movie. And I think that's what part of the reason I liked it so much.
I think it allowed them to kind of feel like they were still making 28 days later too, be mobile, be on the move. There's definitely a lot of things. One thing that I've been researching into this movie is the locations that they used and why they chose them as well, because I think Garland and Boyle were both in their bags for that aspect of the movie and what each location kind of symbolizes. But yeah, I agree with you. I didn't understand. It was cool, the pictures of the rigs that came out, earlier this year for the movie, or maybe last year when they were filming the movie. But then seeing it in action was one thing that just added so much to the movie, and you understand why they chose to do what they did with the iPhones, and just such a flex. I mean, as much as, like you said, it's not them pulling it out of their pocket and just pressing video record on an iPhone. It still is a pretty impressive achievement, I'd say.
It really is. It's really, really cool to see. I think we should just talk a little bit about the premise here. I don't think we need to go too deep into like the plot details of this movie. We will a little bit later, but I don't want to give like a whole comprehensive rundown of the plot here. But essentially, this focuses on Aaron Taylor Johnson's character and his son, who live in this small isolated community on an island that has survived the rage virus outbreak that has completely decimated the UK. And there's this man-made causeway that connects this island to mainland England via like it's like a small, narrow, man-made road essentially that connects the island to the mainland, only accessible during certain times. And because of the times of the day, it's covered by water. It's only accessible by tide. Um, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character takes his son over to the mainland to essentially go through some sort of rite of passage, get his first kill.
A
Um,
blooding, yeah.
and then things start to unravel from there. And this movie really, it switches gears, I think. It starts off really strong in the first 20, 30 minutes as being this sort of like hard zombie movie where there's a lot of fear and trepidation about going to the mainland. And once they get over there and things kind of turn south on them a little bit, the movie kind of switches up at a certain point that it becomes another story about this son trying to save his ailing mother, bringing
Right.
her to find this doctor in the mainland. And it really is like two separate movies, but I don't think it's really like a jarring switch. I think that overall the movie plays very well.
Yeah, it tells its own story and lets you go along with it. It doesn't try and jerk you around or make something unnatural happens, but it does keep you guessing, which I always like about I think Garland scripts, especially when he's combined with Danny Boyle on stuff like 28 Days Later, uh, where it's telling you a story where you don't know what's going to happen next, but when it does happen, you're like, oh yeah, of course, like this just makes so much sense to me, and as much as the story it tells its own narrative and bites off maybe from other films like Children of Men or like even 28 Days Later building on it as a franchise, I think it also changes hands a lot too of who is the main character in the story. I think we kind of came in believing it would be Aaron Taylor Johnson's movie. The first act definitely supports that, and then it turns into Alfie Williams and Spike's movie. Uh, Jodie Comer has a lot to do in this movie as well as Isla, which I didn't think at first when she was bedridden. For the first time you see her, she literally cannot stand up. And then it turns into Ray Fiennes' movie and back into Alfie Williams' movie. Each character has their own little arc in this or their own story to tell to enhance this world. And that was really impressive to me how it was able to balance that. Like you said, it does play well throughout the entirety.
Yeah, Ray Fiennes just coming in like three-quarters of the way through this movie and just completely like lighting it up in a new way.
Right.
So fun. He's the best. He's just so fucking good at everything. It was really fun when he showed up as the doctor, this kind of crazy, slightly deranged doctor, but he actually is well-meaning in a way. I mean, he's
Right.
collecting dead bodies and burning them and taking the bones and building this
A
giant,
bone
insane
temple.
bone
Yeah.
temple, which we will see again because the sequel to this movie is coming out
Right.
fairly shortly, titled 28 Years Later, Part 2, colon, the Bone Temple. So I hope we see him again
I'm
because
assuming
honestly,
that's in
he
it.
was like my favorite part of this movie. He's so funny, and so just like out of left field. I really liked his appearance.
Yeah, he's been he's been doing this for so many years. He's been doing this our entire life where he will just pop into a movie like In Bruges, for example, and just provide this new angle to the movie just through his one character. And while I love seeing Ray Fiennes on screen, I also thought that I was nervous the whole time he was on screen too because I was waiting for him to be this kooky, weird doctor or prove us all wrong or have that twist. 28 Days has that twist. I promised them women
Yeah,
with the soldiers. I was waiting for something like that, and it never came. He was this oddly wholesome doctor who teaches Alfie Williams' character Spike a lesson about, memento mori, remember death, and remember that you must live as well, and remember, the things that your mother's doing for you, or this last journey that you're going on with your mother. And it was like oddly tender, where you didn't think it would be even when you first meet him, he cracks a joke and he talks about how he's named the Alpha Samson. Uh, but you're always unsettled by him until you just realize that he is just a kooky but great guy.
yeah, it was fun having him. Like, and but you totally the whole time we're waiting for the turn, for the reveal that he actually is like the villain of the movie because he's kind of
Right.
set up to be this villain. He's like just on the outside looking in, he
Well,
seems like
he
totally
cleaned
deranged.
skulls and set up a
Right.
bone
He
temple.
did
So
do that. So he is still kind of crazy, but he's not a villain at all. He's actually like a very like sweet and wholesome sort of guy. I would really like to see him again. I thought he was my favorite part of the movie. But
yeah,
besides that, I think this movie just fucking looks awesome. Like the visuals
yeah,
are
yeah.
amazing. It's so intense at times, especially in that scene when they're crossing the causeway for the first time and going to the mainland. And it's playing that like
With
tone
Richard
poem,
Kipling's poem. Yep.
Richard Kipling, like spoken word piece. And the tension is just building and building, and it's intercut with these
Yeah,
different like B-roll clips of like medieval battles and different things, and it's just like creating such
it was terrifying.
it's terrifying. It's creating such a
Yeah,
like a scary like vibe and setting the tone so well. Like I was even just sitting in your living room, I was like fucking locked in.
yeah,
Um, and also like there's just so many great visual flourishes in this movie, like with the different dream sequences we have. There's a lot of like surreal
yeah,
elements going on here at times. There are these truly like blood curdling moments of like red filter at night
yeah.
following the people infected with the rage virus, just like ripping animals to pieces and like sticking deer heads on trees and like truly like terrifying shit. Like I was not ready for. Like this movie is it is a step up in a lot of ways from 28 Days Later. It's really hard to compare the two. I don't really want to get into 28 Weeks because it kind of feels like an outlier. It's
Right.
not referenced in this movie at all. There are
They
things
retcon it
retconned.
immediately.
It's just
Yeah.
retconned away. Like they just kind of want to pretend like it never existed, and I'm happy to do that too. Honestly,
Yeah.
um, it does feel very different than 28 Days Later, though. But I think all in a lot of really good ways. But it still has that same like just really dirty, gritty spirit that the original had, albeit in a very different looking way.
Well, and you can feel the refinement of Boyle as a director, and maybe even the he's kept that clunky like crazy style, but he's refined as a director, and Garland is a little bit more refined as a writer, and they're really come off firing on all cylinders. And it does feel like they had, almost 23 years, I think, in between the two movies, of ideas that they want to get out in this 2 hour runtime. And I think that might be the only thing to me that hinders the movie is that they really are trying to get a lot across to you and obviously have a lot more planned. And there are moments where it does feel like maybe don't have the answer quite yet. I don't distrust them to give me a satisfying answer. I know they will, but not getting them in some ways can be a little bit not frustrating, but maybe holds the movie back from being an all timer in
Hmm.
my book. But as far as just delivering what I think they want to deliver in this movie, they both did.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really held me back from like really loving this movie, I really enjoyed it quite a bit, but I think the only thing that maybe held me back a little bit was I feel like just some of the elements were slightly underdeveloped, like the whole doctor plot. I mean, we don't learn a lot about him.
Right.
We learn a little bit about him, but I feel like and this movie's fairly quick. I think it's what 2 hours and like 10 minutes or something, or
Yeah, quick these days. Yep.
it actually and it moves very
It
quickly. You're
does.
never
It does.
we're not like spending a lot of time doing nothing or long dialogue scenes that don't go anywhere. This movie moves pretty quickly and it shifts very rapidly as far as like the tone and the different elements that are happening. But I wanted to learn a little bit more about the Doctor and the Bone Temple and all this stuff, and maybe that will be explored in part two. But I think really that's what held this movie back for me a little bit was it did feel a little bit like get ready for the sequel, like we're going to
Right.
introduce some things that we're not fully going to pay off. And I just inherently dislike that mode of storytelling. And it's becoming so much more prevalent over the past 5, 8 years
Yeah.
or so. That's really the main thing that kind of held me back a little bit on this movie.
Well, and this isn't something like, let's say, like Across the Spider-Verse, for example, was a movie that I think really relied on. Hey, we're
That's what I
gonna
was thinking
we're
of.
gonna land these punches in the third act, right? In the third movie. And this is not that traditional franchise that we have right now. Its first movie was in 2002. Its second movie doesn't exist anymore. And so now it's launching a new trilogy from this one, but it also has to build off the 28 days. And so I think that was part of maybe what made it even more dissatisfying to me is that we haven't had time in this universe. We want to keep learning about it. And while I do trust that the Bone Temple and I think Nia DaCosta is a very talented director, will deliver on something interesting there. I also, it's such an interesting concept that when you put it in front of me on the screen, I want to know about it. I want to learn about. And you put Ray Fiennes like our guy up there
Right.
too. We want him, and I think it's a testament to Alfie Williams acting as Spike, the main character of this movie, that he starts off with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who it was very much kind of billed or brought up as his movie, and ends next to Ray Fiennes, and still pulls together as a really good story about Spike. And you're still really latched onto this character of Spike because of Alfie Williams's kind of coming out party performance in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer for this movie makes it look almost like a war film, like a
Yeah,
hunting party film. And it
yeah,
is for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then it completely shifts gears. And I think some people won't like that so much. I think they might feel a little deceived by the marketing, and I kind of do feel a little bit deceived by the marketing too. But
I like that.
I don't see it as a
Yeah,
negative. Yeah, I really like when we don't get the whole premise right off the bat, or we thought we did, and then there's still a lot of surprises to be had. So overall, like very positive experience with this movie. Do we want to talk a
yeah,
little bit about the main kind of revelation towards the end of this movie? Not the very end, which I do want to talk about, but the
yeah,
we do got to talk about that, but also
absolutely.
the element of a baby being born by someone
Right.
infected with the rage virus, and the baby is totally normal. That it was a big plot point of this movie that I did not
Right.
see coming. Very Children of Men, as this movie
Yeah.
is like a lot of this movie is Children of Men, not just that element, but certainly that it's also there. What did you think about that?
It was it's like you said about the marketing too. I just didn't think it would be that kind of story. So then pulling that revelation on us with the kid and Ray finds his line about, oh, the placenta, like it's a wonderful thing.
The
Whatever, and
magic of the placenta.
the magic of the placenta, right? And so um, it makes me really interested in what they're gonna do next.
Hmm.
I think that very much, while it was a revelation in this movie, and it was Garland, in the Bone Temple, taking one life away while adding one to the world, and maybe a miracle is born. Like you can tell Garland was so proud of his story when he figured that part of it out. Um, but I think just my feelings on it is I do want to see. I think that might be maybe the biggest thing that I just want to see more of or figure out why it was the way it was. And I don't know if we ever will either. It might be something that they just disappear with because they have so much to do, so much ground to cover in these upcoming movies. Um, but yeah, it was a beautiful moment. The whole Memento Mori sequence. I think Jodie Comer, Isla's death, and the kid being named Isla now, and the montage with the music from the original movie too, when Spike puts her outside of the gate on the causeway of Holy Island was powerful. Like really powerful storytelling and visual storytelling, and just hitting on all senses.
Do we want to talk a little bit about the very end of this movie, where I think a lot of people are going to be out on the very end of this movie, and I think maybe the some of the people we were watching it with also were like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Right.
Um, but again, I don't see it as a negative. But at the end of this movie, we get another complete vibe tone shift, like for the last like minute of the movie, where our new main character, Spike, is living on his own on the
Yep.
mainland, fending for himself, and he encounters a horde of rage virus infected persons, and he's running from them. Seems like he's gonna get got. He comes to this impasse, and then these tracksuit wearing Scottish ninjas, or Irish ninjas, or whatever the fuck, jump out and do fucking karate on
Power
all the
Rangers.
zombies and kill them like fucking Power Rangers. Like, and then it was just insane. They literally looked like they came out of a fucking Guy Ritchie movie. Jack Finnegan or Jack O'Connell and
Yeah.
his merry band of like tracksuit ninjas, and they're like having a great time doing it. They're like
Jimmy.
laughing and
Yeah.
smiling and like doing it like for fun. And then the movie ends, and like you're like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Right.
what did you think? How did
One,
you take
so
that?
I was so wrapped up in the movie too that like even when they have the guy in the first act and he's hanging upside down, it says Jimmy across him. You just don't really think about like I'm like, who is Jimmy, right? But I
Hmm.
just didn't think about the answer because I'm so wrapped up in the moment, and the film doesn't let up on any tension throughout its runtime, and so even the beginning of the movie was just in the back of my mind. The beginning little cutscene of maybe one of the first days where it got to Scotland, and we have Jimmy's father handing him the cross. When these Power Ranger ninjas jumped into the screen, I didn't even think about who it could be, what it was. I was just like, oh yeah, Jack O'Connell's in this movie, is what I've heard. And then I kind of pieced it together like as the credits were kind of going, like, wait a minute, like he had the upside down cross on him. Like there's more to the story because at first I was just so jarred. It is such a different direction, and like it's a different movie in those little like 2 3 minutes. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's our guy from the beginning,
Yes.
whose father was the priest and gave him the cross.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a story to be told there. But at first I was, uh, there's no other reaction but what the fuck, right? Like you don't have any other, uh, you can't take away much from it right at the beginning because you're just blown away by what the decision making
And
was there.
I
And
think
again,
that was
not in
the
a bad
goal.
way.
No,
Absolutely.
that's not in a bad way. That's definitely the goal of that scene is to like shock your system right at the end. And
It
I think
did.
it's also trying to build excitement and build interest for the sequel because you're like, well, I have to go watch the next one to like see what the fuck was up with those guys, I guess.
Right.
Um, but yeah, just totally out of left field. I when this movie originally came out in theaters, I was seeing reactions online and people saying like the end of this movie is going to be very divisive.
Yeah.
People aren't going to know what to make of it, and
I
I
could
had
have
no
never
idea what that
guessed.
meant, and I never would have guessed that that's what it was. So I just I don't know. It's a little baffling. But I don't think it was a negative. Honestly, I really
Right.
liked it. I like when movies have the balls and the gumption to do something like that. Um, and yeah, so overall, not a negative, just a little bit of like, what the fuck? Like, okay,
Well,
like
yeah. And the movie had funny things throughout it, right? Like it had
there were some
Eric the Swedishman's girlfriend and
there
the
was some
iPhone
comedy.
on
Yeah.
Instagram, right? But that was just so hilarious at the end too that they are
Well,
literally
because they're like a
making
ninja
karate
flip,
noises
they're like
and
fucking like Ninja
yeah,
Turtles. They're like flipping and doing
right.
crazy
They're
acrobatic,
smiling.
and they're laughing. They're
They're not
like
even worried about the blood splatter at all.
no, they're like
They're
sawing
just
their fucking heads off, like laughing at each other. Like it's like having a great time. And it's just a total vibe shift again from everything else we've seen. So I kudos to Danny Boyle and Alex Garland for doing that, I guess. Like for I'm sure that was
yeah,
probably like a point of contention making the movie of like, are we gonna
I'm
is this how we're
sure.
gonna end this movie?
I'm
Um,
sure.
but I'm excited to see the next one. I just don't want to be like reliant on the next one. I would have rather had like
Right.
15 more minutes in this movie to tie up some of the stuff that I thought was a bit underdeveloped. Um, and then lead us organically into a sequel. I don't
Right.
like it when movies like are 75-80% of a movie and then 20% build up to the next one.
Well, and I don't know because I'm probably not gonna. I might watch the first trailer or something, but I'm also just kind of trying to stay away from the Bone Temple
But we will
because
ultimately see the trailer. We can't
right,
avoid it. We will
right,
ultimately see it at some point, whether you want
right.
to or not. Like if you go to a
But
movie theater.
there's part of me where I don't know where that movie picks up at either, or if it's gonna be like anthology perhaps, and just tell you or show you
Right. We have no
different
clue. We
things
have
going
no
on in
clue
this
what the
world.
plot of that
If
movie
it would be
is.
connected at all. I was really excited to just see and thinking more about it going into the next movie. I think I was thinking throughout the movie, like, damn, like this is what The Last of Us should look like. And it made me realize that HBO is criminally misusing their budget on The Last of Us TV show. While I don't dislike that show as much as some people might right now, um,
What a
it was
turn
just,
that showed.
it was right.
People
But it was
took on
just
that show.
crazy to see what a great use of budget um, Boyle had in this movie and just the way everything looked and how, they overlook, and it reminded me of a Harry Potter because it's like the same location as Privet Drive, and you see
Mm.
all these
Mm-hmm.
houses lined up,
Mm-hmm.
just overgrown and gross and gritty and grimy, and it's like this is exactly how I should feel when I'm watching other things of this genre. But one thing I did think about that made me excited was I'm excited to see the factions. I'm excited to see the different uh, groups that are out there in mainland England
Right. Well, I
because
just need to
there are
know.
some, right?
I
Yeah,
need to know like what is up with these guys? Like
right.
why do
I'm
they do
so
this? What
intrigued
is the
by it.
motivation?
Yeah.
How are their tracksuits so clean?
How'd
Like
they get here?
like
Yeah.
what they're like wearing like jewelry and
How
like
do they have
how do
tracksuits?
they have
Like,
tracksuits? Like what the fuck is going on? Like and it is a little disappointing at the very end as much as it is fun to have an ending like that. It's just like 1,000 questions that you're just going to sit here and ask for whatever 9 months, 6 months until the next movie comes out. That's assuming the fact that they will be the focus of the next movie, which is not even a given at this point.
right.
So I want to see that. I want to explore that. I want to learn more about what the hell is going on.
Yeah. I think there were also things throughout the movie that you even talked to me about it right after the movie was like the masks that people are wearing on the Holy Island.
Yes.
And what does that like there you can infer what's symbolized, but I do think they left a little bit more to your imagination throughout the movie
Well,
in
there's
this
like
one,
an
where they
insinuation throughout the movie that there's some sort of weird culty vibe going on that island,
right,
and it's like not explicitly stated, but through montage and editing, you're meant to infer that something might not be quite right
right.
on this island. At least that's what I took away from it.
Well,
Um,
and I even thought that maybe they were representing the zombies with that mask and maybe remembering the dead in a weird way, like it plays into Memento Mori in
mhm.
some, but also it never really
There's no resolution on any
told
of
you,
that,
right?
you know.
And I
But I
don't need
don't
to be
need a
told like an idiot, but I
right.
also was curious,
I wanted
right?
just a little bit more of that. I don't need to you sit me
Yeah,
down and explain this is what all this symbology means or whatever, but I do want a little bit more because I was intrigued and then I was not fully paid off, I thought. Again, maybe we'll get more of it in the sequel, but I don't really like watching movies
right.
that way.
If you were to keep one of the two new zombie types going into this next movie, would you keep the fatties, the crawlers, or the alphas? Who would you want to be
Uh
in the next
well, the
movie?
alpha was truly terrifying in this
Oh,
movie, and I
he could
think
control crows and stuff
what the
too.
hell was
Like
that? The
that was
crows, like it's
crazy.
like the harbinger of death, the big flock of crows coming in, and
Ripping
um
spines.
the zombies, they're not called zombies, but that's just what we're gonna keep referring to them as.
Eric calls them zombies in this movie, or Swedishman calls them zombies.
Did he? I
Or
actually
yeah,
missed that.
he calls them a bunch of fucking zombies. But I think that's
Okay.
also the arrogance of somebody outside looking in as
Right,
well,
okay.
right?
That's a good catch. I did not catch that. But anyways, the zombies in this movie are truly terrifying, just as they are in the previous two installments. But I think even more so in this movie because they've been given 28 years
They've evolved.
to evolve, and they are evolving. And I think that's pretty interesting. The route that Garland took on the zombies is they're not stagnant, right? They're not just going to die out. Like they are living, they're a new species, essentially. They're evolving, they're growing, they're procreating, even. I don't know. Yeah, I
Right,
think we're meant to assume that the alpha, Samson, was the father of that
right,
baby that was born.
right.
Um, and I thought that was a really interesting take. They're still completely terrifying, completely vicious, and blood curdling. And we have the scene
Yeah.
with the alpha where when they originally encounter this big pack of zombies, Spike and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, who I'm forgetting his name, um, they kind of outsmart them, right? They hide in a house, and it's really a scary chase sequence where they're chasing to this house, they're hiding in the house. The zombies eventually leave, and they're able to kill them because they're able to kill them, and they don't know where they are because they're able to outsmart them. But the alpha is just standing there
Yeah,
waiting,
yeah.
right? And because he's a lot smarter, and he knows like
I'll
I'm
play
gonna
the
wait,
waiting
I'm gonna wait
game.
you out,
Yep.
like, and that is fucking terrifying. Like that shot on the hillside of the alpha, just
Yeah.
standing there, just staring, watching for hours on end. I thought that was really really cool.
Yeah. I what was cool to me too is like we talked about controlling the crows perhaps and the swarm of birds that comes over them. It's also weirdly it's not as obviously implied to me, but he might be able to influence the herd of deer, right? That goes by the house and kind of tramples the house over more or less
Mm,
by running so close to it as well. Like he's like this weird elemental figure that's it just some it's almost like a myth leader of the zombies. I think the cool part like in the movies theme a lot of the time is like the fear of the unknown, right? The fear of death, of what's beyond, perhaps the fear of going through life without your mother from Spike, the fear of going to the mainland even across that causeway, what's there. And then Garland plays on that by enhancing the zombies too and making the alpha and making the ones that crawl and just making them weirder, more of a gut reaction from us too, because while we do want to see the rage virus infected zombies, uh, seeing something new too is what gives us that oh shit moment as a viewer of the movie, and so very well done, and managed to make the fat creepy crawlers scary as well and just gross.
hmm
And we have that scene in the Fountains Abbey is what it's called, this kind of chapel looking place. It seems like a motherly place of protection. And I like how they play with each of the themes of the locations, kind of fitting in with the movie as well. But where Spike's just sleeping on his first night of watch, and he's supposed to be watching his sickly mother, and you just see the creepy crawler crawling so slow. and it pans out. The shot just has an overhead shot, and you see how slow it's moving, but the way it's directed makes it so terrifying. Where if I saw that thing, like I would actually be terrified of it, even though it doesn't feel directly harmful when you first see him, because it's almost like a joke at 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great use of the zombies in this movie, and great use of, like I said, like evolving them, making them change and grow. It doesn't feel stagnant. This movie does not feel at all like a retread of anything we've seen before. And I think that's the main thing that I really liked about this movie is it's not playing on old stuff. You know, we have
No,
references to things, but it's its own movie. It looks its own way. It feels its own way. It does not try to copy anything that we've seen before.
it's an extremely ballsy sequel too. It
It
doesn't
is.
return any of its characters. It doesn't really have like your hero at the beginning, Jamie, is Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. He's not at all a hero. He's a coward,
Mm-hmm.
and it plays on a lot of your expectations for the movie too, and does not at all. I agree with you, it does move fast. It's not like a standard, easily digestible zombie movie that we'd be used to,
There's a lot of stuff in here.
just
There's
like
there are a lot
28
of
years
different
or 28 days was.
yeah, there's a lot of different themes and things to like unpack here. It's not super straightforward in what it's trying to tell you, although I think it is fairly easy to discern like what the main ideas behind this movie are, the main ideas
Right.
Garland had when writing it, Boyle had when making it. But overall, very, very solid. Easily the best zombie movie that's going to come out this year. The best zombie movie I've
Yeah.
seen in quite a while. Best new one, anyways. Um, and yeah, I give this 4 stars on Letterboxd. I couldn't quite give it 4.5 because of the things I mentioned earlier.
Right.
But I wanted to. I really wanted to, but I ultimately think I couldn't quite get to 4.5 with this movie. Some people I think will feel differently. I think some people will really, really love this. Um,
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed
I
it. I
did.
just couldn't quite get to the point where I was like, I fucking love this. But that's no negative at all. Really, really solid. I will be watching this again multiple times. As Jeremy Johns would say, I will be buying this on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
and or
4K.
4K. And yeah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just right under the mark of like a classic for me. Like just instantly does hit you across the face with just incredible, technically sound, well written, interesting movie making, and totally like a franchise that I don't think we know we needed until we, rewatched the first two and then went into this one. I don't think we realized how much this breath of fresh air was needed in the zombie genre still. Um, and just fascinating, like really cool filmmaking all around, and something that I think I'm gonna revisit for years to
Yep,
come.
absolutely. Really excited for the sequel, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta, also still written by Alex Garland. And then hopefully we will get the third movie in this new trilogy, 28 years later, part three. I don't know what the actual
Right,
title will be. And that one would be directed by Danny Boyle again.
right.
So everyone go out and see this sequel so we can get the new Danny Boyle, Alex Garland zombie movie in what 2028 or whatever the hell it's going to be. Um, but yeah, those are my final thoughts. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, all good. I learned about the sycamore tree, which was the tree that the alpha was standing by. I guess it wasn't a 150-year-old tree in England that was kind of worshipped
Mm,
per se, and locals really, it was a place of them to because it stood alone in that field. It was destroyed in 2023, and
uh,
Danny Boyle and Garland wrote that tree into the movie and CG'd it into the movie. I just thought stuff like that was interesting, how they all twisted on their own, like reverse Brexit history that they're trying to make here.
mm-hmm,
Just really fascinating. A very British film. Learning about the locations that they used was so interesting to me. And I watched like this video essay from a British dude about it, and it was so interesting to hear his connection to the film as someone who lives there, right? And just adds that extra layer to the film that I think that attention to detail is next level.
mm-hmm. All right. Well, as always, thanks for
That's
listening.
it.
Follow Dante and I, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, subscribe, Cinema Cult Podcast. New episodes coming very soon. I know we've been a little bit reserved. We haven't been posting quite as much lately, but it's a busy time of the season. We're working, things are happening this summer. So stay tuned. We have more stuff coming for you as new movies come out and we're finally able to see them. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.